Text him.
Yeah.
You are live.
Just turn it on. Oh, that's 3 or 4 seconds. Oh, sure.
No, they're magic, I just told them
That says live.
It does, but
Yeah.
that's on there.
no, it's not.
One more. I think Landry is too, but he doesn't know.
I checked.
Cause I saw 20.
Alrighty. So we will move on to approval of the previous minutes. So the motion is to approve the minutes of the July 22nd, 2024 meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I forgot to ask if there's any discussion. Is there any changes?
No.
Moving on to consent agenda. We have our district bills as of August 12th, 2024, our building activity reports.
We're good.
Okay. Disposal of unneeded furniture. There's 3 teacher desks at Northside. We have refund lunch account of a recent graduate. Non-certified personnel recommendations. We have 2 resignations. We have the varsity baseball coach, Sean Flame. We have a resignation of the Northside paraprofessional, Charlotte Combs. We're also increased substitute stipend, calling stipend. The current, we have the amount there. Approve unpaid flag team sponsor for Hillary Blevins, and then approve unpaid flag team sponsor for Ruth Christian. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion?
just in regards to the increased substitute call-out stipend, it's been how many years since it was been increased?
2017.
Yeah, so that's the reason why we're making the adjustment and overdue.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions or discussion?
No.
Roll call? Volkers?
Yes.
Eagleson?
Yes.
Crombo?
Yes.
Danhoff?
Yes.
Engelkens?
Yes.
Wilkins? Lucky. Yes. Moving on to communication public comments. Do we have anyone signed up? Okay. Moving to good news from around the district.
Not a lot, just only been back a couple weeks. I will say we had backpack night tonight. Turnout was awesome. We were jam-packed from about 3:45 until maybe 5:45, somewhere in there, so great turnout.
You can go ahead, Joe.
I'll make it go.
Making me go.
Good news, Matt.
Good
Came in
news.
right
You made it.
time.
Yeah.
Good news, Matt's here.
I don't know how good it is. Yeah. All right, so we had our back to school night tonight, really successful, had a lot of kids coming through the building, a lot of excitement to start the year, so really excited about that. Really excited about our new 5th grade teachers as well joining the team. So Lindsay Anderson will be teaching 5th grade ELA. Corby Hubbard, she's on maternity leave right now, but she'll be coming in as well. She'll be doing the 5th grade math. And Anita Dobbins is going to be our long-term sub for that. So we're really excited to get the year going with them.
Okay, yeah, much like that, we had our backpack night last week on Wednesday. Went real well. A lot of families showed up. We had a Hawaiian theme, so we gave out some gifts and cookies and punch and all that stuff. So good turnout. Another thing I want to make sure I mention is in my briefs, I had thanked our custodians and for getting the building ready, but I forgot to put Corey Tedder in there. He's been over a lot since Mrs. McNeese has been on leave from surgery, and he took care of all the grounds around the buildings here in the last 4 or 5 days. South side, I think all the buildings, to get them weeding and trimming the bushes and all that to get them really looking good for all of our parent nights. So I just want to make sure give Corey some recognition for that.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, it was nice to see all the traffic around Southside. It was nice. Moving on to old business. We have the FY25 tentative budget.
Okay, this is on display for 30 days, and it's just a discussion item tonight. There is an attachment in there that has the tentative budget for you guys to see. Some of just the highlights. Our fund balance for the Ed Fund, the O&M Fund, the Transportation Fund, and the working cash combined is $5.6 million. And the reason they don't include the IMRF and the capital projects and the tort and the fire and prevention is because they sometimes give you a false impression, especially that capital projects. You know, we got our money last year, but this year we're spending it. So it looks like we have a $1.9 million deficit this year in that fund, but in reality, we have $3.2 million in cash reserve. And so then that 1.9 will be paid. And so that's why they don't include those when they give you those core numbers. The Ed Fund predicts a surplus of $423,000 this coming year, whereas the O&M Fund predicts a shortfall of $216,000. I suggest we look at ways to put some of the O&M Fund expenses into the Ed Fund. Now, a lot of them you can't. I mean, the auditors would say that's not good. It belongs in the Ed Fund, but there are some that can be either or. And I think we should find those and strategically place some of those into the Ed Fund so that it takes some of the pressure off that O&M Fund. And then also we are starting the year with $329,000 in the Health Life Safety Fund. And we'll probably get another $78,000 this year. So, you know, you're talking about $400,000. And so we can start to address things, you know, such as have some of the asbestos floor tile removed, or renovate some of the bathrooms at the junior high, or replace some of the windows. I think some of the windows need to be replaced. And so that money is sitting there already in the cash reserve. And so, at the right time and the right project, we can get those things addressed. The IMRF fund predicts a surplus of $163,000, and we have a cash reserve of $517,000 in that same fund. So that means we're going to have almost $700,000 in that cash reserve at the end of this year. And that's probably more than what the state intends you to have in a cash reserve in the IMRF. They would like it to be smaller. They don't want it to be zero because they know you need money, but you're not supposed to use that as a savings account. And so what I kind of think is next year, or even this year in December, when it's time to do the levy, that we take that levy amount down. Let's say we take it down. I think I even didn't I give a scenario there? Take it down 8 to 10 cents per 100 EAV, and then take that 8 to 10 cents and put it over in the tort fund. And that way the tax rate doesn't go up, it stays the same, but you're using that money, you're giving more power to that tort fund. And if that tort fund is stronger, because, you know, it's having a deficit too this year of $11,000. So it's basically call it even Steven. But if you can bump it up a couple $100,000, then you can maybe take some of those O&M expenditures and start paying them out of tort, which would then take a little more pressure off that O&M fund. So, but we can talk about that in November and December, but that's what I kind of suggest a direction that we go. So we're anticipating the construction expenses of $2.1 million this year. So we expect the track to be done. The HVAC stuff is now just about done. And so we're planning on paying out $2.1 million this year. But we only have $160,000 coming in. So that means we'll have a deficit of $1.9 million, but there again, we have a cash reserve of $3.2 million. So we should still have $1.3 million available for projects. And there again, there are laws on how long you can keep that $1.3 million in there, because they say if you're going to get a loan, you need to spend it. Otherwise, you shouldn't have got the loan. And so they give you, 3 or 4 years to get that spent. And so when you mix that with the health, life, safety money, there might be, you have a good healthy amount that you can spend on things. I mean, as you know, when you do a whole new HVAC system, it gobbles that whole thing up real quick. But that's something, I think that's good news for us, that we can still move ahead with some of the projects that are really glaring right now. So I could have come up with other scenarios. You guys look at the budget over the next 30 days. There might be a few tweaks, new information that comes available, and So the corporate personal property replacement tax, have they come out that number yet? They always come out with it in August. And so that might be a new number we plug in for next year. And there might be a few other things, but essentially it'll probably be very similar. And then we'll present that next month, talk about it some more. And if you feel comfortable, we can adopt that as a budget. So overall, I think it's going to be a black budget when you combine everything. So that's good. That's always good to know. And I wrote someplace, so I'll just have to, our tentative budget is predicting a surplus of $321,000. And so that could be a whole lot worse. It could be negative. So it's 321,000 in the black for those funds, those 5 funds that I mentioned. I would like to see the district get to where you're $900,000 in the black, because if your overall cash reserve is around 5.6 million, I think a lot of districts that are the size of Morrison are good communities and there's nothing terrible going on in the community. They'll have cash reserves of 11, 12, 13, 15 million dollars. And so you can see that we're about half that. So long term, I would think that the district would want to somehow get to $900,000 in the black every year and start building up a strong cash reserve so that when 2008 comes again, then we'll be able to weather that storm.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and 10, 15 years ago, that's where we were sitting,
Yeah.
you know, and we kind of knew that, you know, looking ahead in 10 years, we'd be in this position. But, you know, 10 years ago, it was like, well, you know, we'll have to figure
Yeah.
that out, and now we're here.
So hopefully I kind of convey the idea. We're not in financial trouble, but at the same time, we should probably buy a Chevy instead of a Cadillac when it's time to buy a new car, you know. But you can buy a car. You just got to buy a Chevy, and maybe 1 year old. Maybe
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes money going back every now, doesn't it?
I drive a Chevy.
I do too. Any other questions,
I don't.
discussion? No, okay, thank you. Moving on to the board meeting software. This is an action item. The motion is to approve the purchase of an annual subscription to Diligent Community, or Board Docs, at an initial annual cost of $2,500. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? No, this was something, last month we didn't have internet, so people may not know what we were discussing. The Board Docs is an online program that allows us to put all of our information online so that we all have access to it. New board members would have the same access, nothing's an email, it's more password protected, and just overall more organized. And so I think it
Yeah, the
gets
security,
us on a good
the
place.
security really goes up. There's, you know, we get things about individual employees or students, and it's just a better program from the security side. And also it makes it more searchable so we can find old data, old things we voted on, and we can just be more efficient.
Yeah, it archives everything.
Yeah, and what you had said too is that even the public can go on and search for something. So
Yes.
if you want to see when was, you know, something voted on, it could pull up and
Yes.
search the documents. And so it gives the public a way to review that information.
And
too.
a lot of these attachments that you have in your email, there's nothing wrong with the public seeing them. You know, some of them are, you know, personnel related or student related, but like the budget, they could actually go and look at the budget themselves, because we have to make a determination with each thing we attach. Do you want it to go to the public, or do you want only the board members to see it? So I think the public will appreciate it because there'll be more transparency. They'll have access to more documents.
Mhm. Absolutely. Okay, let's do roll call.
Pielson,
Yes.
Bravo,
Yes.
Danhoff,
Yes.
Engelken,
Yes.
Folkerts,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes. Press policy customization, action item. The motion is to enter into an agreement with the Illinois Association of School Boards for policy manual customization at a cost of $6,500 and an annual subscription to Press Plus at an annual cost of $2,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second. Did pretty good job.
Discussion. In this too, we are behind on a few policy updates that are needed for us to update our board policies, and this would get us up to date. It also would automatically put that into our board policy, things that we have voted on. So it saves time with staff members, keeps us current with current laws, so we're in compliance with everything new as well, which is important. Any other questions? Roll call?
Bravo,
Yes.
Wilkins, Van Hoff,
Yes.
Engelkens,
Yes.
Folkerts.
Yes.
Yuleson,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes. Moving on to broadcasting board meetings, action item. The motion is to discontinue the live stream broadcast of board meetings with the understanding that the issue could be reconsidered if compelling information emerges. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So this actually came up last board meeting, but we didn't want to have this as a voting action in private because, and the stream was down. So there's a number of reasons why Alan's kind of brought it to us based on his experience. I'll let him go through it, but we wanted to make sure that we had the public discussion with it streaming so everybody who is not here can understand, the reasons behind this.
Would you like me to highlight some of those?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, well, sometimes the microphone picks up private conversations. I think the microphone is somewhere back there, so whatever you guys say, if it's already streaming, the people in public are listening to that. And the video and audio sometimes conveys wrong ideas about what's actually going on and being said and what's actually going on in the room. And the silly example I used is, I might be messing with taking notes or something on my phone, but it looks like I'm texting somebody. And so then, they might give the wrong impression that, something's going on. Just, you think, how does video lie? Well, sometimes it does, if you don't have the right context. And then sometimes board members or speakers from the public or administrators even, and superintendents may not feel that they can share their thoughts openly and honestly because they know that it's being recorded. Or it might make you, I know every time I do a radio interview, I become a different person. And so I speak differently and everything. And so there might be just not a shyness or something with being on the air, and so that impacts the board and its interaction with one another. And we're doing important business for the students of our community. And if we're having to think that, I'm being videotaped, then that's going to keep us from thinking clearly and being able to communicate clearly. Sometimes confidential information is shared inadvertently at the meetings, and the impact of this is worsened by having the meetings broadcast. If closed session is held in the main room, there's concern about the closed session conversations inadvertently being broadcast. When are we starting? We have no idea when it's starting, and so that can be a problem from time to time. And then social media comments can sometimes be hurtful, false, and slanderous, and this creates a perception that the district maybe isn't doing as well as it really is. A staff member may be present or must be present to set up the broadcast. In other words, a lot of time is spent for our IT team to get it ready for the board meeting and then manage it and then make sure it gets turned on and that sort of thing. And sometimes people who have no vested interest in our district, they might live in Chicago, might be making comments on social media that are disparaging and that might not be helpful to our district. And the community members are always welcome to attend in person. It will allow them opportunities to interact with the board and the staff and fellow community members. And it's a positive experience. And so we, of course, would never want to prevent people from being able to do that. And it just seems like since I've been here, almost everyone, not everyone, but almost everyone would prefer maybe that we didn't broadcast at this time. And I thought, well, maybe we could take a break and maybe we could just not broadcast for a while. And if we really hear some good conversation about why we should broadcast, well, then we can always revisit it. It's not like it's once you make the decisions, it can never be reversed. So that's why I just recommend that we take a break.
Yeah, and I felt, I absolutely believe there are people that sit and watch the whole thing and really learn from it and do it. The concern for me is always things being overheard, having, community conversations that are picked up online, and things being shared on Facebook. And does it really impact our decision making? And are we not, board meetings are still private meetings that are held in the public. It's not an open forum. So I think, we want to have people here. The door is open. We're no more closed off than we were before. It's just not videotaped. And that was something that was started with COVID. because we had to at that point. Before that, they were never broadcasted. And I think if you know, we can get more people in here that can hear the actual context and not miss, you know, pieces of the meeting, I think that would also be useful. I think it's easy to turn on one part of it and not always get the full context of what's being said too, and that can also be dangerous. And so I think that's kind of where we stood with that conversation.
I agree.
We also want to make sure community members feel comfortable coming to us and having a comment. And if they feel like they are prohibited because it's on videotape, we also don't want to impact that as well. So that was another thought I had.
Yeah, my daughter came in earlier this year and came in public speaking, and her biggest fear was everybody online is going to watch her. And I think it'd be more encouraging for students or some of the public who feel like that, and they can just come in and it's just a handful of people in the room and it's not broadcast for everybody to watch on social media.
Right. Any other questions or discussion?
So do we believe that this new board software will allow people adequate access?
I think vastly more access, yes.
Okay. My concern, of course, is that right now it's really hard to find information. As a person who was interviewed by the board before I became one, I was trying to find out what you guys were really working on and try to really dig in depth into there. And it was nigh on impossible to really get a good, strong idea of what was going on there. Now, you can watch the videos, of course, and then you can get some sort of an idea. Well, I'm just wanting to make sure that people have adequate access to the information. Would that new software be in place before the next meeting?
Yes, we talked to the rep during the demo of how quick can we get this going, and he thought we call him tomorrow, he can get right on it and get everything set up, and we'd be ready to go by the September meeting.
Okay. I just want to make sure people have
That's a
adequate
really good
access
point. Yeah,
and be able to gather all the information that they need if the video is not necessarily available to them.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, and I've been kind of looking at what other school districts do as well. If it's not Facebook, are there other ways that they're streaming meetings or providing video or
That's something we can
something?
look into later, is not streaming it on social media. We can look into just providing a link to the recording.
Right,
So it's not on social media, so people aren't,
right,
you don't have the negative impact of this. That's something we can look into.
absolutely. So, okay. Well, there's no other questions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Okay. Moving on to support staff attendance memorandum of understanding, action item. The motion to approve the excessive absenteeism memorandum of understanding with the Morrison Support Staff Association as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to our teacher evaluation memorandum of understanding, action item. The motion to approve the teacher evaluation memorandum of understanding with the Morrison Education Association as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? No, and this was just something that, you know, we wanted to be in compliance with there. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, moving into new business. We have our board policy 5275, high school coaching positions.
It's a real short one, I'll read it to you. All head and assistant high school coaching positions shall be posted annually for coaches who are not otherwise employed by Morrison School District. The affected coaches are welcome to apply to be rehired for these posted positions. This procedure will not be implemented at the junior high level. Well, and actually it's just a first reading this month, and then we vote on it next month.
Sure.
But maybe you guys have ideas or ways to amend that, or if it looks good enough, or whatever. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, don't make it
Yeah.
more complicated.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And just so you know, this year it would have impacted or impacts 2 people.
For spring, right?
Yeah, right, for the spring sports.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to reinstatement of the band's flag team program.
Forgot to write up a motion.
Oh.
You can make one up.
Sure. The motion is to reinstate the band flag team program. Is there, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? And this is just a volunteer
Yes.
position?
Yeah, and I mean, if we had a lot more sign up, then it would become a regular stipend position as years ago. But we're gonna see,
How many do we have girls that are?
I think
girls or
2
boys?
right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
two.
And it's, if I may, the plan is for it to be co-ed.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's a section of the band, so they register for band class, just that they were a food section, so. Yeah.
So they'll be in band, and is there somebody in the band class that's teaching them?
They would be with Ms. Suman, and then when they're out on the field, and then sometimes they would be in small groups when they do regular sections. But she would be the overall staff person on site during band class.
So she's gonna be teaching band and,
They do it, they practice at the same time,
right, but
all in the same place, all in the same room.
so is this marching band or is this just like?
It's a section of the marching band.
Okay, so she's
So you've
gonna
got
be
the
teaching.
flutes, you've got the drums, you've got the flags, all on the field at the same time during the same class.
Okay, so who's specifically gonna be in charge of like teaching them how to
That
twirl
was
flags?
within,
Oh, okay.
Be like an assistant
Yeah.
yes,
kind of,
volunteer, yes.
Oh, okay.
I think it'll be neat to see on the field, so it's exciting.
And as they go to competitions, every band that goes to competitions, they usually have flag corps. So
Awesome, okay. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the next item, we have addition to an activity account budget line, action item.
So we have activity funds at each of the buildings, and then they get audited right along with our regular district money. And Kyla has recommended that we add 2 lines, one for the class of 2028 and the FFA greenhouse. That way we can know what money belongs where, because sometimes people donate money just for the greenhouse. It's free to add lines, so.
Okay,
I don't know, Kyla, do you have anything to add, or?
okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to certified staffing hires and resignation, action item. We have the motion to hire Corby Hubbard as a 5th grade teacher for the 2024-2025 school year, as well as the motion to approve an overload schedule for Nate Vandermeide
First semester.
for the first semester. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call?
Brumbo,
Yes.
Danhoff,
yes.
Engelkens,
Yes.
Folkers,
Yes.
Piolson,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes. Okay, so we can adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah.
Two months in a row. It's been about that.
And once the kids show up, you get more money.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. This was your daughter.
Yes, she's one of 2.
She was a cheerleader.
And she did, she can do both, but she's in the band, so.
I don't know, I was trying to.
Right.
Exactly, out in the field in your uniform.
I don't know where these.
I'll have her go look for a book.
It was like an migraine
All
in my
day.
eyes. Yeah, right after lunch, and they were behind me for a minute, and it was gone. Just like that.
I don't know how far it's.
I'm exhausted from teaching, and I didn't even have a classroom up there. I know, I'm not used to that much human interaction. I like to be think someone get much done today.
Yeah.
I made a giant swimming though.
So wait, when did
So I'll probably take care of that on Thursday.
Yeah.
Because that's good when.
Would be nice.
It's
It
gonna be here.
is, well, I think the application deadline's October.
No, well, that, this is the same thing.
First in line. Get a first round draft.
Yeah.
Wait for everybody else to procrastinate.
So, yeah.